New York City's communist mayor, Zohran Mamdani, finally admitting what the world already knew. He cannot arrest Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and then ship him off to The Hague. But Mamdani's still got stuff to say on the matter.
It's clear that the city does not have the authority to execute this warrant. However, what is also clear is that the federal government does have the authority to execute this warrant. And I call on the federal government to join the International Criminal Court and to execute both this warrant as well as any warrant that the International Criminal Court holds. We are talking about someone who has been charged with crimes against humanity, someone who has visited the city on many an occasion and who has been welcomed by previous mayors. And I want to make it very clear that that welcome ends with me.
For more, let's bring in Fox News contributor, former NYPD inspector, and attorney, Paul Mauro. Paul, great to see you tonight. You had an awesome piece in the Journal about this issue. And the key point, in my view, that you made is he's flirting with disaster. Mamdani is flirting with disaster when he talks about arresting Benjamin Netanyahu, because if he acted a little bit improperly in any regard with that, he could be guilty of a very serious crime. Tell us more about it.
So he seems to have punted on any idea that he can use the NYPD to arrest Benjamin Netanyahu, which is the right decision on his part, because had he ordered the NYPD to do so, and if the NYPD took any overt act towards doing so, both sides would be committing an unlawful act by definition. There's no legal foundation to do it, and they would be conspiring to do it. So even if they didn't succeed, which their success in this thing would have been very unlikely because Netanyahu gets an enormous Secret Service detail. So they would have protected him against this. So what are we going to have, a gunfight in the streets? Ridiculous. But had they even formed that agreement to do it, you would have had a conspiracy to commit a federal kidnapping. Now you would have had a conspiracy to commit a state kidnapping as well, but we both know that Alvin Bragg is never going to pursue that case. But federally, the federal prosecutors, they answered to President Trump. And he would have been in genuine danger had he taken that step to say, go arrest on my orders this guy, this Israeli leader. He would have been de facto guilty of violating a federal statute that could not be more clear that he can't do it. And he would have been in real danger. He's now backed off of it and said, Feds, you do it. And he knows that they can't do it either because we're not a signatory to the ICC. He's just grandstanding as he does. He's actually, in my opinion here, he's made something of a buffoon of himself because he got caught out.
Paul, moving on to this, Texas Governor Greg Abbott issuing an executive order to crack down on birth tourism in his state. Listen to this.
What I ordered is every state agency to investigate all those claims and, where found, to make sure that they shut down those operations and even be able to impose what I call the death penalty on a business, which is pulling their certification or license to do business in the state. In addition to that, we are working with the United States Department of Justice.
At the federal level, it's been hard to prosecute some of these birth tourism operations just because you have to use financial crimes to go after them, like even mail fraud. What about at the state level, what the governor is doing here? How effective do you think it'll be?
Well, I mean, look, he's fired up the state-level apparatus to go at these things, and they're going to scrape very hard at the kind of stuff you're talking about, taxes, the formulation of the corporation, where the money goes, et cetera. Let's recognize something, though. Here's where it gets dicey. If you have a company that legally now facilitates immigration, helps people get their paperwork together, helps them apply, they ultimately do apply, they manage to come here legally, and a woman has a baby, there's nothing to charge. The person's here legally, you did everything legit, and they happen to have a baby here, even if in their mind that's kind of what they were planning. Where a person like this runs into trouble, or a company runs into trouble, is where it's very clear that they're doing something illegal. They're trying to sneak somebody in, they're bending the rules to try to get somebody in just to have the baby. Then you have an opening to go at them for having a fraudulent operation and ultimately a conspiracy or even a state-level RICO, because you're talking about businesses, and so you automatically have that pyramid structure. So There are, tools you can use to try to stop this stuff, but in light of the recent SCOTUS decision,
right,
it is going to be not that easy, put it that way.
And it's going to be a state-by-state issue, Paul. We can see that. Thanks very much for being here tonight. Great to see you. Always appreciate your expertise.